So let's pick it up here on the question of where should you target low propensity voters in a presidential or statewide election.
They told me, and they said, thank you, Charlotte. They told me and they said, we've got to win in these where the battle lines are drawn in this pseudo light pink, light blue territory. Wrong. The Democrats don't even do that. The Democrats are focused on deep blue territory because they have hundreds, if not thousands of votes that are just sitting there to be collected. And our side has completely ignored these areas. I'll give you an example in Arizona. Andy Biggs, love the man. Freedom Caucus. We have over 10,000 disengaged voters just sitting in Andy Biggs' district. Why? Well, because the Republican Party never puts money into these deep red places in key target states. They focus only on congressional districts that are contested. This is why, strategically, when you see the Republican Party and the RNC going, oh, well, we're focused on just a strategy to win these, Congress back. That's not the job of the RNC. The job of the RNC is to win the presidency, last time I checked. When you ignore these areas, these areas, you lose states. We saw that in Nevada, right? We could have a U.S. senator that's a Republican from Nevada from this last cycle, and I know I'm preaching again to the choir, how we spent a little bit more time in our rural areas helping chase those votes. We have areas in Clark County. You look at the map in Henderson, and you're like, oh my gosh, we could have won this thing just in Henderson alone, just putting a few bodies following the same formula that the left has done to chase ballots with full-time people. This is critical. Now, again, you might be sitting in your chair thinking, but Tyler, they're just going to manipulate the elections more. And they might. But you know when mistakes are going to be made on the left side? When we throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at them. When we get out every possible vote and squeeze out every possible vote that we can, we stop wasting money on vanity campaigns for U.S. Senate and president and governor, and we start using that money in order to make sure that we can win. And that's why we called it permanent election infrastructure, permanent infrastructure in your community. This has to be the key takeaway that I'm begging you. And again, this is just my area. We need 50 organizations in each of your states. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds impossible because you're like, there's none, right? You guys are helping and there's 2 or 3 that are helping. We know this. We need 48, 47, 46 more of them because that's what the left has devised. Because they're not just going to put all their eggs in one basket with one organization and hope it works. That's what they did in Arizona, quite frankly, with Mark Kelly, and it works still. But they're building those 50 organizations today in Arizona. They're not doing that for their own benefit or health. If they didn't have to blow $50 million plus in each of your states on this, they wouldn't. We're gonna get into that, building our own democracy alliance a little bit later here. This is the slide. So remember this. This is Michigan. What are our current answers to all these things? We're going to talk about it later. We're going to close the day with it. And I think that that's going to be probably one of the more exciting parts of the day today is we're going to go through Arabella and Democracy Alliance, lay out exactly how they're doing it. Trust me, some of you have heard it before. You'll think of something new every time we talk about it, but we're going to get deeply into this and really open it up for Q&A so we can talk about it. That's what's most important to me. So we've got about 15 minutes left.
So at this point, if you're listening to this and you're a member of Army of Parents or one of the many groups that are operating in Virginia, please think about contacting me. My contact information will be provided here. And let's talk about collaborating and sharing information and working together.
Left here on this. So this is just like we talked about for the entire day. This is where we're going to do open Q&A, open talking, really be conversational. Any note you've written down, everything, let's make sure that we're having a conversation about things. So with that, let's go ahead and open the floor up and have a discussion about all these things.
Okay, guys.
Let's do it.
I got the mic over here, so if you want to line up to ask questions.
And we've got mic stands here, so if we want to place mics here, we can do that too to help. And then we'll have runners with our staff. If you just raise hands, we'll try to get a mic to you. Yep. Guys, can we get 2 mics up here too? Do we have 2 what's that? We have 2 stands here if we have 2 extra handhelds. Okay.
Okay.
Let's line up here, guys, because I guess this one is wired to the live stream.
Michael Tiedemann, Sarpy County, Nebraska. One thing I'm noticing is
And speak up really loud too.
a lot of the county parties, we have an aging demographic within the county party structure. How can we tap into the youth with high school Republicans, young Republicans, stuff like that, so that we can get more of a ground game going?
Yeah, this is a great question. So remember we talked at the very beginning about C3, C4s versus the party. So we all know that C3s can't explicitly coordinate, right, politically with even C4s, PACs, or the party. The left has built a massive infrastructure of dozens of C3 organizations, and what do you think that they do? They target specific groups of people, and they just get them into a room, right? So the left will have a C3 that's for veteran engagement. The left has a C3 that's really powerful for black voter engagement, for youth voter engagement. They try to have many. They're losing the game. I don't know if you've seen the latest statistics on young people, but Turning Point's doing its work, and we have Donald Trump's most popular with young people. So, we're doing our end of the bargain here. So there's all these different pockets and groups, and their job at C3s is to just bring them into the room, right? C3s can't go to the party then and say, I'm here to work, right? What do you have to do? The party has to go to them. They're sitting ducks, right? So when they build a C3 pool of people that are sitting there in the group, and whenever the Democrats are like, the left is like, man, we need 15 black activists to go rally the troops in Waukesha or Racine, right? They'll go to that C3 and they'll ask them, do you want to participate? Right? They're sitting there in the C3. They know they're there. The C3 can't bring them to them, but the party can go and grab those people. The campaign can go grab those people because they know where they're at. It's organization, right? And I hope a light bulb goes off with this, right? Because people call me all the time and they're like, Tyler, Turning Point USA, a 501c3, isn't providing campaign staff to my campaign. I'm like, have you gone to them? Have you tried to recruit them? They're just sitting there, right? They have chapters that are sitting there in most of your states. The C3 can't bring them to you. C3s can't bring them to you, but you can go to them. You can participate and support a C3 personally. You can have conversations. You can build relationships. And the smart people across your states are figuring this out. Campaigns and that, right? And we're just one bucket, right, using that. But there's all these different groups that the left has set up this way for that purpose. So whenever someone asks me, what can I do to get more involved as a precinct committeeman? The party's a disaster, whatever is happening in my local community. Trust me, I'm in Arizona this week. I'm sure you saw the news. It was a fun week. And as you all know, not unique, right? Happens all the time. We have issues. But I'm like, go start a C3 that you can focus your group of people that can be harnessed for activism. And that can be anything, right? Because issue-based activism is not political. It's not defined as political partisan speech. It's nonpartisan. It is issue-driven, but more importantly, you're congregating groups of people that now people can tap into. That is the most critical missing component within our movement. So I hope that answers the question, but that is what we have to do. And there are many good organizations, by the way, who are doing this. It doesn't have to be a statewide big thing. It can be a neighborhood thing. It could be a neighborhood block watch. It doesn't even have to be a C3, to be honest with you. It can just be a group. It could be a poker, group, right? Doesn't matter. It's organizing so you know where the people are so you can tap into them when the time is right. Right? Cool. Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Yeah, hi. My name's Howell Shaw. I'm part of the Clark County Republican Party. I'm also a pastor. So speaking of
Thank you,
C3s,
Pastor. We appreciate it.
Right? Yeah.
Thank you for what you're doing. This is the perfect question. I hope you're going to ask me this question right now.
Yes. Well,
ask me the
exactly.
question, Pastor.
The question is what can we do to engage the biggest, elephant, the big C3
Yes.
available
Yes.
that it congregates people?
Yes.
How do we do that?
Yes.
And how do we get over this righteousness about, well, we can't
Yes.
do those things that the Democrats
Yes.
do because it's evil?
Yes.
Come on. Tell me.
Thank you.
Tell me.
Thank you. Okay. I have an answer for you because our team is helping with it right now. So Turning Point USA has TPUSA Faith. We work with a number of different pastors. America First Policy Institute also is working with hundreds, if not thousands, of pastors across the country. This is the number one question that's brought up that's in the same vein as this. So this is why we do this, because no one's ever talking about this, right? This is why I'm so happy we're here. We're starting off the day so good. The biggest C3s in the country for us are churches. But our pastors are like, I don't want to lose my C3 status by accidentally over politicking in church, right? What is the easiest answer for them? We right now are telling people, set up 501c4s. Your greatest protection to your church is setting up a C4 where C4 sponsor politically oriented events. There's a number of other things that C4s and C3 interactions have to do to ensure. I'm not an attorney. I'm not advising anyone's church here. But I'm telling you the biggest missed opportunity and the greatest opportunity for us as a conservative movement is get your church to set up a C4. So if your church's name is what's your church's name?
Dwell AJC.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Dwell as in dwell in his presence, a Jesus community.
So you have Dwell Ministries, Dwell, whatever it is. It should be Dwell Action, right? Set up a C4 in the similar name, totally separate entity and organization. So those groups can sponsor politically oriented things that you can invite people to via that C4. You've now protected your C3. You are now can move forward with doing this. If every church in America did this, it would add a layer of comfort to every pastor, every church executive that exists, and give them the opportunity to host events that are politically oriented. To answer the question, if we do this, I believe this could be a turning point, a game changer for our churches and unlocking interaction with our voters. We have, to his point, we have pastors who are like, I don't even want to do voter registration. Guys, voter registration is nonpartisan. Please don't not do it, right? But if you want to add an extra layer of comfort, C4, set it up. Have the C4 sponsor it. You don't even need that much money. Few $1,000 put into a bank account. You don't need money to register voters, right? Scott Presser will tell you that. He's going to tell you that today. You don't need money to register voters. But you might need a C4 so you can stave off the attacks that we know the left is going to bring. If every pastor in America did this, we would add millions of voters to the voter rolls. It would be almost impossible to lose. Now let's couple that with the data that's in front of you. Go through the precincts. Identify the churches that are in those key critical target precincts. We've given you the data. You pull open the church that's in these key target precincts. Now you go to that pastor and say, Pastor, I beg and plead with you. I know you're on our side. Set up a C4 so we can register everybody here every week and you can feel comfortable with it. We're doing this work with Turning Point Action will help you. Turning Point USA and TPUSA Faith will help you, help encourage people to learn more about that process. Cool?
I'm David Summerall.
I hope that unlocks something. The light bulbs are going off now. Right? Because that is one of the things that's like, I'm so glad we started here. It's so good to be amongst brilliant people. Okay, go ahead.
All right, David Summerall. I'm the chairman of Macon-Bibb County in Georgia.
God bless you.
Also a pastor, retired Air Force chaplain, Republican,
God bless you.
and retired public school teacher. But
Thank
my
you, Pastor.
question has to do in the 2022 campaign with Herschel Walker, we had the problem is I don't know how many people coming into our county from different organizations to do door-to-door campaigning. The problem is they all wanted to go to the same neighborhoods because many of them were paid by the number of doors they knocked and so forth. So they all targeted the Republican kind of housing areas envisioned rather than going out to the rural areas, and they were tripping all over each other, and we didn't know who was working where. We actually sent some of our people and some of them to some of the rural counties around that weren't getting as much targeting because we couldn't tell who was being knocked on and who was not. How do we solve that problem where we're not just tripping over each other, going off to the same voters, because Republican voters are harder to get to. They live farther apart in many rural areas, unlike Democrat voters that are in inner city areas where they're a few feet from each other.
Oh my gosh, this is just like, I love it. I love being here and talking about this. This is the light bulb moment that we had when looking at the data that's in your booklet. You can see on the map, potentially on your county, where our voters are versus theirs. The Democrats' life is actually so much easier because in every metropolitan area, how does it look? Dark blue, light pink, dark red, right? I'm just simplifying it here. Most of us live in semi-populous areas. That's why you're here, right? Because there's more ballots to chase. You might live in a suburban rural area. Same thing applies, but maybe light blue, light red, dark red, right? But it's rings. You can see it around every metropolitan area. Our life is significantly more challenging because we have to work the dark red areas. That's what the data is showing. That's how we're targeting in Arizona and Wisconsin and Georgia with our Chase the Vote initiative. This is not secret. Again, we're not telling secrets here. The left already knows this, right? We're up against a challenge. So the Democrats want to pull us into the center. Why? Waste of money. Our voters aren't there. Everything else. They want us to be in those light blue, light pink areas. That's our theory. We have all these votes sitting out there, and they're laughing at us while we're focused on nothing but dark blue areas. And don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. Donald Trump did better in these dark blue areas than any candidate we've had in modern Republican history. That's the cherry on the cake for us, folks. We're not trying to ignore these people. We're just saying, look, there's a priority that has to happen here, which is that even as that's happening, that work is being done by some incredible patriots who are going face to face at doors in dark blue areas, that we have to do the work to make sure these dark red areas are getting the attention it deserves. So this comes to the data. And it's not the same for everyone. Everyone's different, right? There's different challenges in different counties. But the theory is this, is if we can chase those red areas effectively, they're going to be spread so thin, right, trying to combat us, that they are going to be so in trouble that there's no way that they can win some of these states. No way. Or they're going to have to try manipulation schemes that are beyond anything that we even saw in 2020 and 2022. I mean, look, I'm in Maricopa County. Craig will tell you they shut down half the polling places. You want to look at the map of the places where all the polling places shut down? The exact area. It's a map. I could give you the map of where all our votes are. I could give you a map of where all the polling places conveniently shut down on election day. I'm not saying anything other than those maps are exactly the same. Right? So they're going to pull out every stop, folks, to manipulate the election. And what scares me on that topic, what scares me is that there's some people pulling the levers that knew this data ahead of 2022, that knew that inconvenient election malfeasance would hurt us, and we didn't even know what was going on. We weren't even trying to turn out those people. That was just all organic. So that's the point. Is I think you got to focus on that. You got to go through these places. You got to give those places the attention they deserve. You got to staff them with the bodies that we need. And the left is putting full-time bodies there, because in order to hit that number, that equation, half of every chaseable, disengaged, or new voter, you got to have full-time bodies to be able to get to that number all throughout the voting period.
We can't do that if we don't know where everybody's going. They're all working off different apps.
That's right. So the question, we're going to get into that a little bit later. So if we're not sharing information, if everyone's working off of different song sheets, makes it more difficult. We're going to get into that. And this is where I think there's been a massive shortcoming within the Republican